rolling.
Call the meeting to order, please, and welcome all of you to the regularly scheduled town council meeting for the town of Edenton, July edition. We'll follow our agenda tonight as is our custom, so if you would please stand and join me in the pledge. Following that, Councilman Biggs will offer an invocation. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bow with me, if you would, please. Eternal Father, we are so grateful that you have allowed us to see another day, Father, and we just thank you for this time when we can come here and be about the people's business. We pray your blessings on this meeting, Father. Through Christ we pray, amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. We have a full slate tonight, so we'll get moving right along. Chair would entertain a motion to approve the regular meetings of June 13 and July 11.
I so move.
Second.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, and then we have another set of meetings, special meetings, June 19, June 26, and July 24.
So moved.
Second. Motion and a second for those. Any corrections, additions? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed, no? All right. We'll go now to our Rural Development Community Facilities Fund. Monica Thornton is here with us this evening from USDA. And Anne Marie, if you would give us an intro to this topic, we'll get underway.
Happy to, Mayor. Staff has been working with Monica on this loan grant application, and Monica will go over the terms and conditions and will ask the council to officially take action. But we're excited that USDA is offering a $85,000 grant and a $75,500 loan, low interest loan. And we're also pleased to report, excuse me, that we're working with Monica on a grant loan application for purchase of 3 police vehicles, chief, and a fire command vehicle, fire chief. So we hope that in the fall, funds will be available for those projects as well.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate you allowing me the opportunity to present this offer to the board. We've been working with the town of Edenton for a few weeks now to see if we can help purchase a offer package for a much-needed sanitation truck for the town. The package basically consists of purchasing a truck, the title, tax and tags, and the legal fees for a total amount of project of $160,500. What Rural Development, after reviewing the application documents submitted, what we're offering to the town tonight is a loan for $75,500. Since it's a sanitation truck, we can finance it for 20 years. The current interest rate will be 3.25%, and the annual payments would be $5,193. And like I said, that's for 20 years. Now, there is an option if the town sees fit to pay that loan in full at an earlier date than in 20 years. There is no prepayment penalty for paying those early. Okay. Also, what we're offering to the town in this package is an $85,000 grant. A grant does not have to be repaid, so that's always a joy to have grant money attached with a low interest rate loan. I would tell you this too, as far as the payments go. Tonight, what we're offering this package to the town. If the town approves it, then we will go back and do the actions that it takes to actually get the money put in the town's name. We'll send you a congratulations letter in about 7 to 10 days. At that time, you'll be authorized to use your purchase order process to purchase the vehicle through the state procurement process. Then you'll give me a notification of about 3 to 4 weeks prior to the estimated arrival date of the vehicle. And then we'll come in and we'll do a closing with your attorney. And that's when we will take, the security will be a financing statement. Our name will be on the title of the vehicle, and we'll take a installment purchase contract and a security agreement. There's no promissory note for this, and there's no real estate secured because it's not anything but equipment. Your first payment would not be due until the 1 year from the closing date of the loan, not from today, but when the vehicle actually arrives and we do the transactions for the closing. We will set you up on what we call a pre-authorized payment, and your payments will be drafted automatically from the town's account each year on the anniversary of the payment. The good thing about with us is when I come to you today and tell you the interest rate is 3.25%, if it takes 6 months for the vehicles to get here, our interest rate changes every quarter. If it takes 6 months to get here and when the vehicles get here, the interest rate is lower, you automatically get the lower of the two. Just say, for example, the interest rate drops to 3% by the time the vehicles come in. You don't have to sign any forms, or it's automatic. It's a lower of the two between obligation and loan closing. And that being said, also, if the interest rate goes up, you're locked in at least a 3.25%, which is what it is right now. Some of the requirements that we have in the letter of conditions, we have a grant agreement that has to be signed, and basically that's just a form acknowledging that the town is receiving a grant from rural development in order to purchase the vehicle that you have submitted the application for. Repayment schedule. Applicant contributions, we were able to make it so that there are, unless the vehicle comes in more than anticipated, because it is under state procurement website, so therefore if the state contract goes up, or if the title tax and tags go up, that would be the only time that the purchase would be exceed the amount that is proposed. So there is not any, the town won't have to put anything into the project unless that there is a change in it. We will have to get copies of your audits each year. There's some information that you'll have to fill out. But since you're already familiar with rural development, you already have to send that to me anyway because you have some other loans that you're currently paying with us now. Closing instructions, we will work closely with your attorney to let him know once the vehicles have an estimated arrival date of what kind of documents will need to be prepared for the closing, and the mayor and the clerk, the town clerk, will have to be present at that closing in order to sign the documents. One of the forms that's being presented to the board tonight is a resolution form. If the board accepts the offer that I'm bringing to you tonight from rural development, then one of the forms in there authorizes the mayor and the clerk to sign all the forms that go along with it. So that way we can put your vote in there and then you authorize them to sign it. Does anybody have any questions about what we're proposing, we're offering to the town?
I have one question. If we decide, I heard you say if we decide in 2 years, 5 years, whatever, that we can pay this off, there will be no extras added to it. It will not take away from the grant.
No, sir.
Okay, good
No,
deal.
sir. No prepayment penalties and no penalties for the grant.
Okay, thank you.
Monica, one other question. I heard you say that your name will go on the title. I'm assuming that that's as a lien.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We will be on the lien. Yes, sir. Not me personally, rural development, sorry.
Now, as far as action from us, you need motions on what?
I need a motion and a second from the board to accept the proposal.
Okay.
And then we tally the votes on those two forms that I left with Amy. So we don't have to vote on each individual item, just the package in general.
Okay,
So one vote.
all right, well. Okay, council members, any further questions?
Mayor, I will
Just to
gladly-
add that in there, excuse me, just to add that, we will be working with the town on some police vehicles and the vehicle that are needed for the fire department too. We just didn't have any more money.
Okay, very good. Any more questions from the council? If not, I'll open the floor for public comments on this proposal that we've just been enlightened with? Okay, hearing none from up here, the floor is open, ladies and gentlemen, if anybody who would like to speak in support of or in opposition to this package of financing that we were able to put together to meet the needs of our sanitation department and upcoming needs for the police and fire department. So all we ask in a public hearing is that you take the podium, identify yourself, and we'll be happy to hear what you have to say. And thank you, Monica, again,
Thank you.
for your presentation and all your hard work.
Thank you.
Hard to speak against a low-cost loan.
$85,000.
Yeah, attachment. Okay, seeing no public interest comment, we'll close that portion of this process, and the chair will now move for a motion to accept the package as presented.
That's so much.
Second. Okay, motion and a second to that effect. Any further conversation, questions, comments?
And Monica, you are our new best friend.
Well, can I come again?
Just make sure your briefcase is full of cash.
Okay. I will do my best. You might have to wait a little while. I'll do my best.
Any further questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Thank you very much. All right, next on our agenda, we have a presentation tonight. It's been long in the making, and a lot of volunteer work has been involved with the process to get us where we are, to hear what's going to be presented to us in a few minutes. Councilman Quinn has served as the chairman of the committee. The members who are here tonight are Judge Terry Boyle, Virginia Wood, and Beth Taylor, who have worked diligently, as I mentioned, on this project for years. For those of you who don't know, Dr. Hugh Williamson was a prominent person, not only as a physician for the community, but also as a founding father figure as this country was being cobbled together, as much as that he signed our Constitution. So without any further ado, and not to take anything away from the comments, I'll introduce Judge Boyle. Judge, thank you for coming, and you too, ladies. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I'm glad to be here again. I hope this is my last appearance on behalf of you, Williamson. We have outstanding chairman, Councilman Quinn, who has led the committee to prepare for the memorial ceremony on September 17th for you, Williamson. And Anne Marie Knighton, your city manager, has been a terrific force in that effort. And so I'm here to report to you tonight and to invite you to be a part of the ceremony. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that. If it wasn't for Virginia Wood and Beth Taylor, I wouldn't be here right now, and we wouldn't have the monument. And they have been just so committed and hardworking, and in preparation for speaking to the commissioners last night and to you tonight, I pulled out my file, which is pretty thick, and it goes all the way back to 1999. So we've been plowing this field and trying to get this recognition for 15, 16, 17 years or more, and it's finally come to a realization. The monument is here. I hope everybody has seen it. If you haven't seen it, please go take a look at it. I think it looks magnificent. I think it fits into the character of Edenton's historic history and presentation. It's extremely tasteful, I think. It marries itself to the Joseph Hughes monument. These are two of the most visible and notable people from the formation of the American Republic who were Edenton citizens and Edenton legislators. There are others who are yet to be recognized: Samuel Johnson, Iredell, James Iredell Jr., people like that, who were equally important in the period. But on September 17th, that's a Sunday, and we chose that day because it's Constitution Day, and it's the day on which 230 years before, in 1787, the 39 people who signed the Constitution were present on a Monday afternoon and put their names on it to form this government. And so it's going to be a very fitting memorial, I think, both in terms of the physical presentation of the monument and the spiritual and community presentation of doing it on that day. We hope we'll have a good day, and that's the plan. So there's not much more for me to do. We have a surprise, I hope, present for the council to thank you for your support over all these years. This is a likeness, lithograph or print frame of U. Williamson, and I hope you will be able to hang it in a suitable place, either in the courthouse. Well, there is a painting of him in the courthouse, but somewhere in a municipal setting that all the people who come into the future can enjoy. And
thank you very much, Terry. We appreciate it, and it will find a recognizable and accessible spot in one of our public facilities for the population and visitors to enjoy.
Wonderful.
We appreciate it.
Wonderful.
Thank you so
Well,
much.
I'll finish up by following up on the invitation to the ceremony. The ceremony is planned to be at 2 in the afternoon. We expect to have patriotic activities leading up to it and throughout it. Congressman Walter Jones has committed to be the keynote speaker and to be here and to share with Edenton in this important date. I think it's particularly suitable and appropriate to have Congressman Jones, who of course is a longtime friend of Edenton's and a very high-ranking member of the U.S. Congress, particularly because U. Williamson was the representative to the United States Congress in the House of Representatives from Edenton in the first and second U.S. Congresses. So from 1789, when Edenton, or 1790, the 1790 Congress, when Edenton and North Carolina were part of the country, until he retired 4 years later, he was our U.S. Congressman, and he's the only House member ever from Edenton in over 230 years. Now, we've had 2 U.S. senators from Edenton. Samuel Johnson and the less recognized James Iredell Jr. He was a member of the United States Senate from North Carolina. He followed the famous man from Warrenton, Nathaniel Macon. But anyway, thank you for your support. I'd like to thank Bob Steinberg too, because without Bob's work in the legislature, we would not have this memorial. And I hope you're pleased with it, and I thank you for letting me present it.
Again, thank you, Terry, Bob, for your work, and Virginia and Beth for your diligence, persistence, and overall grinding away until we got that thing in place. So we're all excited about September 17th, look forward to it. But thank you again for all that you did to bring a much due recognition to this gentleman in our community. Very nice. Very nice. All right. We're now at a point where we'll have our committee reports. We have but one tonight, and that is our administrative committee, and it's chaired by Councilman Briggs. Please, sir.
You're right, we only have one item on the agenda tonight too, and there has been a little talk about this since we brought it up at our committee meeting. It is coming to you by the way of the committee to just send it straight to the full council. It doesn't come with a recommendation either way. We wanted everyone to be able to discuss this. But it is recommended that council consider the ordinance to allow the sale of alcoholic beverages before noon on Sunday at licensed premises. And what this is, as y'all well know, the legislators decided that they were going to allow the municipalities to vote as to whether people should be able to enjoy an alcoholic beverage, 10 o'clock, or be able to have the sale of beer and wine at the grocery stores, convenience stores, or wherever it's licensed to sell at 10 o'clock instead of 12 o'clock. So I have put that out there for, again, discussion, as we recommended from the administrative committee. So I'll open that up, because I know there was some talk the other night, so have it.
I'll be glad to speak in behalf of confirming that as a very positive vote in favor of this opportunity, and I consider it that. It's my opinion that it would be an enhancement to the restaurants in town to open earlier, that it would be a financial boost to them, and to others coming here to give us that opportunity to begin to enjoy the day at 10 o'clock. The last meeting, when we had a brief discussion on this, I said that in my mind, 2 hours is not going to have an effect on anyone's morality as to when they partake of an alcoholic beverage. I'm very much in favor of this from an economic viewpoint, from a traffic viewpoint, traffic in the sense of people coming here, which we desperately need. So you have a very positive from my view.
Got two of those, I'm for it. I think it'll be good for the restaurants. I see one person here that's got a restaurant downtown that I'd love to have them open. I don't drink a whole lot, but I'm certainly not going to drink at 10 o'clock on Sunday morning, but I think it's a great thing. If we can have these restaurants opened up, anything we can do to help them from a policy standpoint, I think we ought to do, and I'm 100% for it.
I cannot agree. I disagree with that. And I don't drink, but you know, each is up to his own. I can't go along with that.
Do you have any? Would you like to handle the part of getting the motion for
Be
this?
happy to. Prior to asking for a motion, I'll just put this out for procedural information. This will require a 2/3 majority vote of those members of the town council here present. And,
I'm sorry, Mayor, it's of the membership.
I'm sorry, of the membership.
Yes, even though you have a vacancy,
Right.
it's 2/3 of the
Present
members.
members. Okay, I had it written right down here and still didn't get it out. Okay, and, if the motion were to fail, well, another meeting, it could be moved to a subsequent meeting, at which time a simple majority would carry the day, of those members present. So, with that bit of background, the chair would call for a motion to, we have 2 supporters and 1 announced non-supporter, so I'll ask for a motion to approve the proposal to alter our ordinance or change our ordinance to allow for the sale of alcoholic beverages beginning at 10 o'clock on Saturday.
I'll be glad to make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
The only discussion I would have, Mayor, is, and I really think that morality is whatever, a particular person wants to do is, as long as it's not illegal. I don't have that right to try to make them be convinced of what I might think is right in certain circumstances. But, and I will be voting in favor of this just because it's, if people want to take a drink at 10 o'clock on Sunday morning, they're going to have it on Saturday night. They'll get it Friday night, Saturday night, or Saturday, or whenever. They can get it whenever they want it. So it's not like, the liquor stores are going to be open on Saturday or Sunday mornings or whatever. But I didn't put that out.
Okay.
And I won't say, I really respect people that disagree with it. I totally understand that and have absolute respect for that. For people that feel like that's not the right thing to do.
And I don't have a strong feeling one way or the other about it, but if it will indeed help the restaurants that are open on Sunday, then I fully support it. I don't have a preference one way or the other, to be honest.
Okay. All right, I think we've heard from everyone in the comment period of the motion, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no? Okay, the ayes have it, and we do have the 2/3 majority required in that vote number. So the motion passes and the ordinance will be amended to bring that into effect. Is there an effective date?
It's effective today, that you passed it, so.
Okay.
For Sunday night,
Sunday.
of course.
All right.
And we are hurrying. We apologize for that.
Okay, very good. Now we have a long list of items under new business tonight, and I'm going to turn the meeting over at this point to Anne Marie to have her walk us through these various items as she normally does, and we'll take whatever action we need to.
Thank you, Mayor, and it is an unusual agenda with so many new business items on the agenda. Normally, the council likes to vet things at the committee level, but mainly due to deadlines and timing pressures, that's why we added so many items for your consideration tonight. The first item is recommendation to contract with an attorney, a law firm, to serve as bond counsel for the town. And this project, the bond counsel is needed for the USDA loan grant project that the town officially was awarded last week for the upgrades at our 2 water treatment plants. And the upgrades are needed to help us get back into compliance with the drinking water standards. We're currently exceeding the maximum level of total trihalomethanes, and this project will the technology will totally eliminate the precursors that cause trihalomethanes. So we're really excited about this project. I think it's been since the town has had a bond council, so this is a new territory for us. We solicited proposals, received 2 from very highly qualified firms, and my recommendation is that you award the agreement to McGuire Wood. Their general counsel has just a tremendous amount of experience as bond counsel to communities in North Carolina, and very recently served as bond counsel to Bertie County. And the funds for the bond counsel fees are included in the budget that was approved by USDA. So I would ask that you consider making that award. We need to have a letter of engagement sent to USDA quickly. That's why we put this on the agenda tonight.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Chair will entertain a motion to hire the McGuire Wood firm to be our bond counsel.
I so move.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye. Any opposed, no? All right, thank you.
Mayor, it's that time of year when we're closing out fiscal year, June 30, 2017, and Jennifer was on vacation last week, and she briefed me before she left, and I took a stab at preparing the budget amendments, and she informed me when she returned that I had made a mistake. Didn't get it right, but it was to the good. She reminded me that you had already adopted the budget amendment for the bulkheading project. You had made that amendment. So what we're asking you tonight to approve is a budget amendment totaling $35,700 in the general fund. We need to transfer $17,500 from the garage's gasoline line item. Thanks to reduce fuel costs over the year, there's money available for that transfer. And then $18,300 from the administration's insurance line item, and that insurance line item is where you pay for your property, liability, workers' comp insurance. So we would transfer funds from those 2 accounts to the inspections, the contributions for inspections, and that is the program that we jointly fund with Chowan County for the building inspection program. And our budget is based on an estimate that we get from the county, and every year they try to estimate how much revenue they'll receive from permits that are purchased. And this year that estimate was low, so we are required to transfer in about $7,700. And then the public safety lease, when we prepared the budget for you last year, I anticipated that the new police station would be completed in March, but by the time we got all of our approvals and issued the notice to proceed to the contractor, the completion date was pushed back to May. The contractor completed the project on time, but we ended up having the police department occupy that space for the month of April and May. And so we need to transfer in $28,000 to that account. But that will be the last payment that we make to the county for the space. And now you will be making payments to BB&T for the debt, for the building and the infrastructure that you will own. There also is a budget amendment in the water and sewer fund, transferring $5,000 from the water operations budget, their inventory line item, excuse me, to the sewer collections budget to cover $5,000 worth of maintenance, repair to plant and station. So, Mayor, recommend approval of those 2 budget amendments, please.
Okay, thank you. Council members, Chair will entertain a motion to approve those budget amendments as presented.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second to that effect. All in favor, aye? Any opposed, no? All right.
The next budget amendment is for this fiscal year, and this amendment adds $15,075 in revenue that we will receive from the Edenton Historical Commission for the construction of the new wharf at the waterfront. And this expense will be added to the general fund's bulkhead replacement project. And it looks fantastic. I hope you've all seen
I'd like to,
it.
I'd like to make that motion.
I don't think you can do that, can you?
I think I can. It's in my list.
Okay. Chair is open to entertain a motion to that effect.
I just made that motion.
All
I
right.
do.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further questions, comments? Other than the fact that it looks great over there. Another project, a long time coming, right? Pew and the bulkhead, get them done the same night. Looks good. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no? Very good. Next, please, ma'am.
Mayor, last week we received our official notification of award from the State Water Infrastructure Authority, and that is a $1 million zero-interest 20-year loan to fund our wastewater collection system inflow and infiltration abatement project. And we've prepared the project ordinance based on receiving this revenue as well as the grant that you received from the Department of Commerce for Hurricane Matthew public infrastructure unmet needs. You recall we received a $187,900 grant to help with cleaning and TVing sanitary sewer lines. We expect to receive quotes or proposals from contractors to start working on this project, hopefully for you to review at your August 28th meeting. So we want to go ahead and have the project ordinance set up. So the capital project ordinance is presented with those two revenue items for you to consider.
Okay, do we have a motion to proceed with that?
I move.
Second.
Motion and a second to proceed with the project ordinance. Any further questions or comments?
Get it done as quick as we can.
Yes? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no? All right, that carries. Thank you.
Mayor, the next resolution is related to the project ordinance. And you know from past history that the town, if it declares ahead of time its intention to reimburse itself for expenditures that are expended in connection with projects that are to be funded from debt proceeds, that the IRS allows you to reimburse yourselves. But the LGC checks to make sure that this resolution has been adopted prior to any expenditures being made. So we've prepared that resolution for you. We anticipate, based on budgets, that approximately $95,000 will be expended prior to obtaining financing approval from the LGC. And proceeds, again, from the loan will be used to reimburse the town that $95,000.
Very good. Chair will entertain a motion to adopt that resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Further questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, all in favor, aye. Any opposed, no. Thank you, ma'am. Number 9.
Mayor and council, this is a project that you all have been working on along with our members of the Airport Commission for many, many months. And we have reached tentative agreement on the terms of the lease for the space that is occupied by the North Carolina Department of Transportation at the airport terminal building. You know that we've been delayed since October when an anonymous complaint was lodged to the state auditor's hotline about the presence of mold in the building. And after much due diligence on the part of the town, that mold was identified, evaluated by engineers, professionally abated by contractors, and then inspected and certified to be clean, and DOT has reoccupied the space. After we received the all clear, the negotiations with the State Properties Office resumed, and much to our satisfaction, the terms that State Properties offered in response to our counter are actually more favorable to the town. The lease calls for the existing lease, the renewal of 20 years to be exercised, but an amendment would cover rent on 3 spaces that DOT uses that was not part of the original master lease. So we're looking at a 20-year lease, and when you add up the value of the revenue with a 3% annual increase, it totals $1,037,643. There are still some maintenance issues that need to be addressed in the building. We are working on that. Thanks to the rain today and some detective work by our airport manager, we've been able to rule out the fact that the last 2 new leaks are not coming from the roof, but are coming from condensation from the new HVAC system. And we have a plan of action to address that, and hopefully some modifications will be made, very inexpensive modifications this week that will resolve that. We are expecting an engineering report to advise us of what improvements need to be made under the building, the crawl space, to ensure that that area is properly vented. So we do still have more work to do, but I think based on all of the work that has been done since November, the town has been, you know, a good steward of the people's building and a good landlord to DOT. If you all agree to the terms, what will happen is I will have to submit a report early next week to the department, to State Properties, outlining the additional work that needs to be done and what our timetable is for doing that work. That will be evaluated. I'll tell you that the NC DOT facilities manager has recommended that DOT pay just half of the back rent that is owed to us, and then pay the remaining half when we correct the leak issue. But we're confident that that issue is going to be resolved this week. So we expect that we'll be able to report to State Properties that the town has approved the terms, and then State Properties will be able to put this item on the agenda for approval by the Council of State at their September meeting. That is the goal. I'll stop there and see if there are any questions or comments that I can answer.
Get them to throw in some trees down Broad Street.
Mayor, I don't have a question, and I probably shouldn't have these comments. I sure shouldn't have the thoughts going through my head that are going through there right now about this. This has been way too long, 100% way too long. And if it, I mean, I think the board heard me loud and clear with a couple of other people when we met a couple of months ago that I was one of those that said give them till July 15th and tell them to get out. Because this is not the way that we run. I mean, we pay our bills. I know the county pays their bills. Everybody in this room has to pay their bills. And this is one incident where the state has not paid its bill. And for them to even come back now and say pay half the back of it, and, you know, want us to wait until everything is perfect. It's an old building. It's never going to be perfect. That, I'm telling you, it just rang my bell. But anyhow, being your liaison to the airport, I would certainly like to recommend that we move forward with this. The board has certainly fought this one long enough. It's the only thing that was probably discussed more in my years of being on this board was a tractor. And we solved that issue by buying a new one about 10 years ago. But the long and short of this is we're due this money, and the state property people ought to be ashamed of themselves. The guy that we've been dealing with, he ought to be ashamed of himself. I realize he is now trying to work in earnest to get this straight, but I would certainly also, and if you want a motion on this to be approved, I would certainly also like to have as many of the board members that want to go. I would certainly recommend that our town manager be at that September meeting with the governor and all of his staff sitting there, all the elected officials, so that if it happens to come up, they can hear the whole history, and I would ask her to take the history of this with her. I will certainly be there if we approve this tonight, because again, they kept our money long enough.
Couldn't agree with you more. Anybody else have a comment? If not, we can go ahead and get a motion up to accept the lease agreement.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. And is this gonna go, Steve and Bob, is this gonna go forward with the understanding that we will be present at the
Someone.
September meeting of the...
Someone will be there.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
Okay. All right.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed, no? Very good. Hallelujah. All right. G,
Mayor,
ETJ.
this is unusual, but you all dealt with the same issue on a different piece of property on Shannon House Road about 3 years ago. The town planning territory extends 1 mile beyond the city limits. And unfortunately, the map, back in the days when those maps were drawn, didn't have good GIS, and some of the lines intersect with parcels. We try not to split parcels when you're setting jurisdictional lines, but it was recently discovered only because the property owner came to get a building permit, and the county, rightly so, pulled up the zoning map, and they could see that the property was half in the town's ETJ, actually about 1/3 in the town ETJ and 2/3 in the county's ETJ. And so it's recommended that the town council adopt this resolution asking that, or requesting that the county accept the portion of 137 Shannon House Road into the county's planning jurisdiction. And I've talked to the property owner, and he is anxious to get his building permit, and it's taken a while for us to figure out what needed to be done. So we ask that you adopt this resolution tonight.
Are there any other properties where there's an overlap?
You know, we'll look at, now that we have really good GIS through the county, that will be something that
So
we'll
we
look
can
at,
bundle them all?
try to get them all corrected and not have somebody be delayed if this comes up again. That's a good suggestion, Mayor.
Okay. All right, Chair would entertain a resolution conferring the portion of property as described to Chowan County.
I'll move on that resolution.
So,
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor, aye. Any opposed, no? Very good. Grant agreement.
Mayor, this is another great grant that the town is receiving. This is from the North Carolina Division of Aviation. And the Airport Commission has worked really, really hard to get this grant, and then also to convince the Division of Aviation to set up a program whereby Tier 1 economically distressed communities are exempt from having to pay a 10% cash match. Chairman Callback is here, and he served on Governor McCrory's aviation task force, and that was his main mission. Chairman Callback advocated for that, taught and met with DOT officials, Division of Aviation officials all the time, Airport Commission member Carrie Parrish, and every time that he got a chance to lobby our local legislators, he was advocating on behalf of us, and of course Councilman Biggs the same way, not only with our local legislators, but with other legislators that he has relationships with. So their work has saved the town $46,000. For this grant, we would have had to match $46,000. The grant agreement came in very late Friday afternoon. We pulled the agenda back and added it because we are very anxious to get this project going. The grant agreement is for $460,932, and this supplements an existing grant that you have already received of $176,000. The 10% match is effective on the grant money that you've already received, that's $17,654. We'll have to figure out a way, Jennifer, to come up with that cash match. But overall, we're really pleased to present this grant agreement for your consideration.
All right, very good. Chair would entertain a motion to accept the grant agreement for the airport fuel station.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion?
This is great.
That's one of those things we can't afford
Say
not to.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Pull a few more birds out of the sky, hopefully, when you're running low. All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no? Very good.
Mayor, the last item is related to the grant agreement. It's the actual award of the construction bid. Talbert and Bright, the aviation engineers, designed and developed the plan, the construction documents, the bid documents. Those documents, those plans were reviewed by the Division of Aviation and ultimately approved for bidding. We went out to bid. 2 bids were received, and the low bid from Jones and Frank, who actually I believe were the contractors who installed the system that we have now. Their bid is $579,353. And we're asking that you approve this tonight because once it's approved, there's a whole host of documents and bonds and notices that have to be issued. And every week is precious. Our goal is to try to have this in by Christmas. Is that the goal?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, very good. Chair would entertain a motion to award the bid for construction of this fuel system.
That's a move.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second to do so. Further questions or comments?
In this bid, Anne Marie, is there a possibility, and I hadn't had time to talk to Harry about this because I just saw it this morning or anyone else, is there a possibility of having a change order on it as far as the type of reels we're using, and there is not the possibility?
We don't see that at the moment. It's the way we want it at the moment, under this bid.
But if there there is something different that is detected that needs to be changed, we can certainly do a change order. I think we'd have to get approval from the Division of Aviation.
Right, sure we will. Yeah, okay, okay. We can discuss that later. Okay, thank you.
Okay, any further questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no? Very good. Nice job. The town secured a lot of funding tonight. That's very impressive stuff. Really is. I'll make a comment on that. I was in Anne Marie's office today doing our meeting prep visit, and the question of debt came up for the town of Edenton. What is our threshold that we can borrow based on our assets up to, and where are we currently with all of the projects we have on paper? And the legal limit for the town of Edenton is plus or minus $35 million. Adding in the current loans that we have on the books, plus the ones that we have been dealing with here this evening, brings the current future liability to $11 million. And that's a...
To how much?
11. And that's a 3-to-1 ratio of assets to liabilities, so that's pretty strong. That shouldn't encumber us financially in a negative way at all. And I commend all of you and our staff and our various boards and commissions who staff with a lot of volunteers for all the hard work they've done on these various projects to bring us to the point where we can apply for and then receive funding from USDA and other sources. It's a big deal. And we're grateful to all the people who participated in the process. Thank you very much. For me, I've got one item under timely and important I'd like to share with you. Yesterday, Monday, since this body approves the funding for the operation thereof, the Edenton Partnership hired, or the new hire for the executive director's position went to work right here next door with the Chamber and the Tourism Development Office has been its home base for the last little while. The gentleman's name is Mallory Denham. He comes to us from Kentucky. He was a very impressive candidate. He interviewed much to the liking of the board and was subsequently offered the position which he accepted. He and his wife had been to Edenton, looked around, had an instant affection for the community, and he's very excited about being here and getting to work. So he's on a pretty steep learning curve right now, but is eminently qualified for the job. So we're excited about having him on board, and we'll get him in here once he gets his feet on the ground a little bit and have him talk to you all. I think you'll be very favorably impressed. Other items, timely and important. Anybody have one?
Mayor, I've got one that I think is probably very timely and certainly very important in Anne Marie's update to us this week about the street overlay surge project. And, you know, it is one thing that I had talked an awful lot about, and I'm sure there's times y'all would appreciate if I'd shut up about it, but I hear it all the time. And I was just 100% totally disappointed that we sat here for 3-4 months thinking that we had the cost of the big surge that we talked about, A, B, and C, at $900,000, and now we receive this report back from the Wooten Company that says for us to do what we were talking about doing, we're looking at $2.5 million. And, you know, I know we talked earlier tonight about having a bond agent. And I know when we talked earlier about, when I mentioned doing a bond, to go ahead and get this done. We were thinking it would be too expensive, but all of a sudden now we've got to have a bond agent anyhow, so I don't know that there's that much more expense that can be added. But that is one thing that I would certainly ask this council to 100% consider, is that we go, if at all possible, that we go after a bond referendum to make this happen. We had bad information, to no one's fault but the particular person that was working here at the time. And now we're sitting here looking at, you know, 2.5 times, you know, what we thought we were going to be able to buy. We thought we were going to buy a nice new car, and here we can't even afford a used Volkswagen. So I would certainly hope that you would review that, think about that. You know, we promised in our budget that we were going to do the streets. We didn't know that it was going to be this much, but this is something that we've got to do. We cannot back up on this. There is no way we can. The streets are in too bad a shape to do 4 streets and wait on the others. I'm glad Wooten's going to be here, but I want us to push as hard as we can to make this happen as quick as we possibly can. That's just one man again's opinion, but I would certainly hope that the rest of you would be in favor of us certainly at least looking at a bond. That's all I got. Thank you.
No, thank you for bringing that up. I think we should go ahead and put that on a committee meeting agenda ASAP. And I know Anne Marie's been working on a backup plan to try to bring something forward near term. But an overall fresh discussion on the subject would probably serve us all well, so we can explore all avenues of potential funding to do the work, as Councilman Biggs said, that we thought we were funded to do. But
If we're gonna do all that and start digging up the streets, I'd love to see us, we're gonna do a bond, get the lights downtown, get the trees down Broad Street, and bury a few of the power lines. I mean, you know, if we're gonna start doing all that, it might be the time to, you know, I don't know what that would add to it, but just look at those costs and see whether or not we could add that to that bond. So.
you got $24 million left on your on your debt threshold.
I bet the LGC wouldn't look at it.
I don't think so either. Yeah, okay, that'd be a good conversation to have, for sure. All right, anyone else?
Yes, Mayor, I would like to back up for a minute on something that Anne Marie touched on earlier about the police station. I think we need to make one more attempt to make the public more aware. We're still getting negative comments about why we built the police station. And it just really bothers me. I would like for you to just say for the public input one more time why we did what we did. We were offered the opportunity to get out of a bad contract, and we saved the town, what, $3 million by doing this? And people are still saying, why in the world did the town do that? You know, it just really bothers me. And the people that are saying it, they just don't know what they're talking about. So I would like for you, or if you will, just for public comment, just for public notice, to put the figures out there one more time.
And maybe write one of those things in the Joe and Herald again.
Yeah.
Well, we are getting ready to dedicate and have a grand opening and an open house for the new police department. And maybe as part of that ceremony and as part of the literature that we put together, we can come up with the facts that will show why.
And the
this
facts is
was-
what we need to get out. I mean, it just really bothers me that people and most of the people, when you explain it to them, they act like they acknowledge it anyway, but there's
they
still a
come
lot
right
of
back.
negative comments out there, I'm sorry?
They come right back.
Yeah, exactly.
I would like to say that I have received so many favorable comments.
So have I.
People in the neighborhood, people in the community that get it. They understand that the town built that building in a neighborhood, in a part of town that needed investment. That they understood, you know, that putting the police station in an area that was distressed was going to create and stimulate more investment, and it has. So I'm happy to try and I will put together information, hopefully that will help you all tell the full story.
Well, the thing is, you know, people don't understand that we saved the town $3 million. And that when this 20 years or whatever it was we financed it for,
We still wouldn't have anything.
we will now own it, whereas Bob just said, before, we were paying, what, $78,000 a year for rent?
$168,000.
And-
Plus maintenance, plus our share of maintenance.
And at the end of the period, we own nothing. We own nothing.
And that's the only way that you could have saved the taxpayers the money that was saved,
Right.
because it was encumbered by the lease.
That's right.
I mean, you don't do away with the lease, the money just doesn't appear to be used for other projects around town that some people may think could have been the case.
Right.
Why are you duplicating something you already have? The money could be used for something else.
Cash.
No, it couldn't, the money wouldn't exist
That's
if
correct.
you didn't get out of the lease.
Right.
And we just had a budget resolution here tonight, $14,000 a month, I think that's right. That we had to, amendment rather, that we had to make for the 2 extra months we had to stay. So just rent alone was 14 grand a month times whatever number of years it remained. But anyway, good point.
And part of that too, I've had some people ask why we built it where we built it, and I've tried to explain, we were asked to build it there. I mean, the neighborhood really wanted it. I mean, every time we had a neighborhood meeting there, it was packed. I mean, it was full, and people really wanted it there. So I'm totally glad, number one, that we built it, saved the $3 million. Number two, we built it where people asked us to build it.
And it's a beautiful station, and I encourage everybody, if you have not been down there and been through it, you need to go, because it's really a beautiful place. The chief has done a good job of decorating it and putting furniture in it, and he's very proud of it, I can tell you that.
As far as, I'm so proud of this council for having a vision, you know, this town, having, most places would have stuck it out on the bypass, and to put it right where it's needed, and to make it beautiful, and to put it right on the street, and to say, you know, the first architect we talked to said, set it back so you can widen Oakham Street to 4 lanes, and I was like, you know, you just don't get what we're trying to do here. But, I mean, I think that it's just a shining example of how this town operates, and it's just, I think, so important to say that neighborhood, you know, we are here and we want to help, and we're going to help you make, you know, your neighborhood just as nice as every neighborhood. So I'm just so excited, love riding by it, and it did save us money. It's the best savings of money I've ever seen.
Well, and it is in one of the 2 redevelopment zones that you got already approved, so if we didn't arbitrarily stick it in a way, that plus public input from the neighborhood determines the site. Okay, very good. Good stuff.
Okay, I'm off my soapbox.
Yep, very good. Good stuff. All right, are we done at this side? If so, I'll open up the floor for public comment. Anybody here tonight would like to address the town council, please step to the podium and identify yourself. Yes, sir.
My name's Jim Callback. I live at 214 East King Street, and I'm a member of the Northeastern Regional Airport Commission. And I'd like to address the council on the approval, hopefully, of the lease at the airport terminal building. I'd like to particularly commend the town manager, Marie Knighton, and airport manager Harry Davis, who through this almost 2-year process have hung in there. I will admit that I lean toward Councilman Biggs' feelings that this is going on long enough, either pay out or get out. But through perseverance, we have managed to negotiate a lease, which I might say the first lease was negotiated in a snowstorm. We thought we had this all put together, and last summer, through change of personnel, it started over again. And they certainly were not negotiating in good faith. But we seem to be over that now. There seems to be a change of heart, and the town will get the monies that are due and owing. And I'm sure these last little hiccups on the building will be cured shortly. I'd also like to commend Bud Powell, your purchasing agent, who has done yeoman's work out there. When everybody was accusing, one contractor was accusing another, Bud, who's a cool personality anyway, got out there and got everybody singing off the same sheet of music. And one of the things that I think everyone loses sight of, and I know in other buildings that I've worked on in the peanut industry, many of these things were built before air conditioning was in vogue. And the airport terminal building was built in 1942. It was built to last 5 years as an ops building for the Marine Corps. And it's certainly a tribute to the craftsmen of this community who put it together, that here 70-some years later, it still has a useful function. But trying to make air conditioning work in some of these old buildings, you fix one problem and create more. So the town deserves a lot of credit for hanging in there, and again, Anne Marie for her patience and dealing with the property crowd in Raleigh. Believe me, it was not easy. Thank you all very much.
Thank you too, Jim. You've been a good leader for that outfit for a long time. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. I'd like to thank the police department, first of all, for the courtesy and the superiority of putting that police department there, because but he's right diagonal from my mother's house. We lived at 204 East Gas Street all our life. I was a little teeny girl. I used to walk the street. I used to go to Dale Walker School with Mr. Barros. He would have his raincoat on and his umbrella, and I would follow him going to school. And I would never think from a little primary first grade walk that they would put a police department there to guard the town, and which we really needed. I want to thank him and look him right in his face and tell him that was very nice of him. They did the builders did a very good job, and they're almost telling us if they could build a police department that good and comes out that well, that we can also go ahead and start to build our home and go ahead and live our future. And I want to thank you and thank the town, Anne Marie, and the town of Edenton for protecting me for all the walks and stuff that I do. Come back home from New York, but I worked in Wall Street, and I cannot believe that I came back home and don't have a car because my brother told me that I wouldn't need a car. And I said, no, I won't either. He said, yes, sister, my brother David said you wouldn't need a car, sister. So I told him I wouldn't need a car because I'm so used to driving and riding public transportation. He was right. But first of all, I told him the first thing you need is shelter. Now, I stress shelter because I'm back home, and I decided to, instead of go back to the city, that just stay home and put my foot down and stay home, either go back to work or get married and just you know, live a future. So, what I would like to do is also thank the town again for covering me for like the house where I'm living at now. I'm paying rent to Mr. Gary Hickenbacher, and I've been there 2 years in a private studio. When I first got in that studio, I was so afraid. And I don't know where in the world the fear came from. And I told, and people said, well, Miss Lewell, God is not, he's not a fear. And I said, you're right. But I'm asking everybody in here to pray for me. You know, I'm not ashamed because I see these people every day, and I like everybody in here. The chief is special to me. He's a very nice man. I don't know where he's from, but God sent him here. He's very friendly. He's nice, you know, because in New York, when I worked in New York, I worked around millions of police officers. And I've never been in any trouble in the city at all. No kind of personality trouble, no kind of racial trouble at all. I live with Jews, I lived around Jews, and I walked from the Jews to go to Wall Street, to New York, to work. So it's not, there's nothing wrong with me as far as racial or color or anything. There's nothing wrong with me as far as that's concerned, because I love everybody. I just wanted to just say one thing, touch base on just one thing about unfair housing. I wanted to go over to the Cotton Mill to apply for a house, but I was told that the rent would be too expensive for me, to not even entertain the thought even go there, even apply to the Cotton Mill. Now, that's some Miss Lou, you would not be able to afford that place. She said it's too expensive for you. I said, well, I'm going to go over there, I'm going to speak with her, I'm going to sit down and talk with her and see how do I qualify. Based on my income, what do they have for me where they qualify? But we can go ahead and go inside. And the winter's very cold, Winterville, and the summers are very hot. So God is telling us that we got to have a place to live. So I'm asking everyone to be fair, that we be fair with each other as far as how fair housing is unfair practice is concerned. To not turn me down, if they can work it out with me, please, let's see if we can work it out. You can work a housing deal out. Now my son Godwin, he fought with $1,500 to Gary for my apartment, for my security at the very beginning, in a little private house where I over there staying to John. And he forwarded that to him. We paid him right off. And then I paid my rent for 2 years consecutive. $325 a month times 24 months. And I came up with $7,800. Plus this recent $325, which I'm saying I think I paid him about $8,000. So I said $8,000 plus his $1,500, we paid him at least $10,000 altogether. And I have not received a one rent receipt. So maybe they forgot me, or my name got lost in the shuffles or whatever. But when I spoke to Gary, I didn't hassle him. And I didn't bug him about receipt because I already had my receipt at home to show proof that I have paid them. And altogether we gave him $10,000. There's no need for that kind of fear. And I just want to mention just one other thing, and not take up your time because everybody works every day in the time. The mask of slayings, Chief, I'm chilled, but I'm just saying a lot of that stuff is happening. If we could just cut some of that stuff out, I'm just saying it may not be something that affect Edenton, or I don't know how is it tuned into Edenton, but if we could just not try, if we can try not do stuff like that, and not go on the TV shows and stuntmans and supermans and all kind of mans, and just be real and nice. And if we could just let our everyday Sunday school lessons affect our everyday and not hurt each other. So it's the fear, we don't need the fear. It's time enough because people now mixed marriages, and there's no need for nobody to be afraid of anybody. And they wasn't afraid to mix marriage. So I'm just saying, well, what's the fear coming from? So I pray to God, I'm asking everybody in this office would pray for me. And I thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate hearing from you. Anyone else?
Yeah, I got one comment, question.
Yes, sir.
It's actually from my granddad. He found out I was coming. Old Hertford Road, the north end, the pipe washed out about almost a year ago now, and it's still got a bad pothole in it, terrible. Is that something, I know you guys are probably working on it, but just bring it back to your attention that every time I look out, they're patching the best they can, but it's about time to get it fixed now, I would think.
Carrie, that washout happened with the storm before Matthew and then again with Matthew. And we had requested and petitioned FEMA for funding to upsize the 2 pipes that were damaged. FEMA said that the pipes were not damaged due to those storms and that they were only going to pay to replace the existing size. And the reason that we think we contend that they need to be enlarged is because the railroad enlarged the culvert under the railroad by Jumbo Jumbo's way back there. So there's a lot more water, because that was clogged up and damaged during Matthew, and that's why Regulator got flooded. But now that that culvert has been enlarged and improved, water's gonna come quicker to where we are in Old Hertford Road. So we applied for funding and we received it, and I was hoping that grant would be on the agenda tonight, but we haven't got the formal grant agreement from the Division of Coastal Management to do an engineering study that will tell us exactly how, what size those pipes need to be, and also North Broad Street extended, those pipes need to be upgraded. And I talked to DOT, and they said that they would do everything they could if the engineering study called for larger pipes to find the funding for that. So I know it's frustrating, it's irritating, especially for our friends and taxpayers on Old Hertford Road, but we just hate to go ahead and fix it and then find out later that it's not the right size.
All right, thank you.
I'll be glad to come tell you that, your granddaddy that, if you want me to.
Anyone else would like to address the council tonight?
I would,
Yes, ma'am.
excuse me. Praise the Lord, everybody. How you doing?
Good.
My name is Asia Hurd. We're at Wharf Landing, 420 Captain's Cove. We're new in town. We've been in Edenton for about 8 months, and we fell in love with Edenton because Edenton moral value. We came down from Westbury, New York, and everything is moving fast. I've been in New York all my life, and this right here, everything here is still in Edenton. And it's not slow, y'all are still. So we weren't sure that we was gonna stay. We was led by the Lord to come. And we wasn't sure that we was gonna stay because everything is so still, but we learned to love it. You can't get the post office on Saturday, certain things are closed on Sunday and Monday, and we just learned to love it just the way it is. So Edenton don't have to change to get people to come in, not the moral value. You know, stay the same. People will come and love what you have because what you have is great, you know? So I just wanted to say that because I know that there's changes that are being made according to the ordinances. Not to compromise moral value. We love it here. And nothing had to change for us when we got here, for us to stay. It was just Edenton. Edenton character, you know, which you already had. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you for sharing those thoughts with us as well. And welcome. Good to have
Thank you. Be glad to be here.
All right.
We plan on getting involved.
Very good. Anyone else?
There's no way I could just allow my wife to just. I always say, if I was in the Garden of Eden, Eve wouldn't have went through what she went through because I would have stepped in that conversation. So I say that to say there's no way I can allow my wife to just speak and not stand up. Right, husbands? Yeah. That's what we do. So when I get home, I know I'm gonna have a good meal. Amen? I first want to say, it's a pleasure to stand before all of y'all. It might seem strange to y'all, but when you're a loving person and you get to be around what I call a living Bible. Me and my wife, I'm a bishop, my wife's pastor, we have a church in Westbury, also in Kenya, Africa, and what I talk about is that God has placed us somewhere where we are in the presence of what the Bible says, love your neighbor. Amen? There's people that reach out to us that we don't know. Speak to us. I have to watch on the road sometimes because I have to say, I got to keep my eye on the road, but I got to wave. I enjoy that. So that's the epitome of who Edenton is.
That's right.
And that's what we celebrate and we pronounce every day to people all around the world. My wife retired in law enforcement. I retired in playing basketball. Amen. We ran into the mayor in Bistro.
Yes.
And Anne Marie in Bistro as well, and at a church event. And I said, wow, this is what we wanted to do. We picked up from 22 years of our house. My daughter's a lawyer. Everyone's wanting to be a doctor, dancer, you know, at that age. And we came, and our life has shifted the way we want. My wife says, slow. No way. The perfect word is still. The perfect word is peaceful. The perfect word is, I believe we're living in the midst of the living Bible. Sometimes being in it, you can't see it. But when you get those come from out and see, that's why and I applaud you. But my first question is, what was the reason for setting it at 12 o'clock anyway? I think there was a moral standard that y'all set. And it's not about my morals or your morals, but the same way in reverse that the 2 hours don't affect is the 2 hours that those on the outside echelon always characterize North Carolina as the Bible Belt. There were certain standards, there were certain things that you would not do or think of doing in North Carolina. Most people wanted to move because they wanted to set that stage with their children and the next generations. So, as much as that is, as entrepreneurs, that is an economic increasement. I also think too, that if you understand the reason of why you're setting at 12 o'clock, then it doesn't make a major difference. But I ain't trying to get in no trouble, I just got here. I will be at your restaurant, I promise you that. But I just stand here, absolutely. I just stand here, and that's the thing, when you sit here, that's not a decision you make based off of your own personal, because we ask you to represent us. So I say all that to say, I thank God that we are in Edenton. I thank God that I stand before y'all happy, nervous, but I watch on TV. Mr. Biggs, I love you. I got here in November. I watched TBN. Amen. I watch the Ever Religious channel, and I watch you religiously. My wife will tell you, you see the same thing 4 times in a row. Because I saw you argue about, I see you intently confront about what was going on with the DOT. And I'm standing in my living room, yeah, Mr. Biggs. Because I understand where you was coming from. Don't play us like this. Don't disrespect us like this. We have accredited ourselves more for y'all to keep playing this game with us. So to sit here and hear you say it, it was hard for me to even sit in my seat. Because one thing I can say, you are consistent. Amen? So to know that we will put our taxes in, we will put our time in, I'm happy with who I stand before. Amen?
Don't stroke his ego.
Amen. Well, I guess there's a familiarity because I'm that person. I'm that person that you put me in the forefront to get the thing done. Amen? Because it represents all of us. And the last, because my wife has been in law enforcement and retired, and that's a good point. And that will always be a touchy situation, but then you have to have that time where you know you make the best moral decision and the people voted for it. And with all humility, you have to say, okay, oh well, that's what's done, and then we move on. So I thank God to stand before y'all. I really do. Thank y'all for what you have created in the town of Edenton. Amen. And the one thing I will say is don't lose who you are.
That's right.
For a few extra dollars, because nothing will ever stop the immense blessings that's coming through this town, pouring through this town, based off of standards. I don't have to go deeper than that because y'all pray before y'all actually set these meetings. That's why I really fell in love with you. I'm calling my wife, baby, they praying before the meeting. Because we have counseled that. We have cut that out like it's something wrong.
That's true.
Amen? I'm about to preach. I'm going to I love you, Chief.
Well, that should be fun here. My name is Christian Koshal. Many of you know me. I've been in Edenton about a year, and I fell in love with it too. I never had any intention of changing Edenton. In fact, if this had been a referendum, I would have abstained from the vote. I don't think moving the liquor 2 hours makes a bit of difference. But if it does to the volume of tourism in Edenton, which, again, I have doubts, but I don't think it would hurt the volume necessarily. I don't think it's going to make a whole lot of difference in my business. We're gonna be open for brunch in the morning. Apparently, we're gonna be open at 10 instead of 11. You know, that's to me, not a make it or break it type proposition. But overall, it may keep tourists from, and that's why I'm doing brunch, it may keep tourists from leaving town on Sunday morning, which they have been apt to do. There's nowhere to eat. In that is, there's nowhere to watch a game. There's no food delivery. There's nothing to eat on a Sunday. These are the things that I'm addressing. The state opened up this 10 o'clock discussion and Edenton responded without any input from me. So it's not something that I was promoting or necessarily even hoping for. I just have to tell everybody to come in an hour earlier on Sunday. And that's it. But I do thank you.
Can you get us some Uber drivers too?
I don't know if I can do that, Sam. I don't know if I can do that. I'll try. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, and for your investment in our community as well.
Oh, we're happy to be here.
And we commend you for agreeing to start opening on Sunday, because we certainly need that.
Yes, it is.
Place for
It
folks
is
to eat.
pain me that tourists might just be chased out of town on a Sunday morning. You've done such a wonderful job of attracting people here, and I would like them to stay on through Sunday.
Make sure you put a little ad in all the hospitality
We will do so.
sites.
We will do
To
so.
that
Thank
effect,
you.
yeah. All right, anyone else have a question, comment? Okay, this has been a lively night. Thank you for participation in the public hearing. And with no further business, we are adjourned.